President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. The floor will be given to Mr. Kirstenpon's defense team to continue questioning this witness. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to the Chamber and all those who are present here. Good afternoon to the witness. A few days ago, you said before this courtroom that Kyo Sampan had a unit under his orders, the electrical plant at Chakongre. Now, could you tell us where you get this information from about Chakongre?
Response. Regarding my statement that Brother Hamd controlled at least one unit, which was the electrical plant in Changre, is based on the following reasons. The chairman of the electrical plant in Chiang Rai was arrested and taken to S21. His name was Yu Chung, alias Chong. He said that Brother Hamd taught him to become a CIA agent. And for all the affairs in the affair of the CIA, he had to follow the guidelines taught or instructed by Brother Hamd at the Chiang Rai power plant. For that reason, I sought advice from Brother Noon. And for that reason, I believed, this is the evidence showing that Brother Hamd controlled the power plant in Chiang Rai.
Oui, donc c'est une information.
Yes. So what I have understood from this is that the information you have from an S21 confession.
Response, that is correct.
Le 28 mars 2012,
on the 28th of March 2012, before this courtroom, you maintained that on the 6th of January 1979, on the eve of the Vietnamese invasion of Phnom Penh, you attended a meeting in the presence of Kyo Sampan, and that the meeting was held in the Suramarit Buddhist Lycée. And you told the court in E1 stroke 55.1, page 95 in the French version. I knew the person in charge of the state storage facility, but when I saw that the person in charge of that facility was attending the same meeting under the supervision of Bong Hem, I realized that Bong Hem was in charge. And so my question to you is the following. At this meeting, which, as you tell us, took place on the eve of the invasion, was the question of the state storage facilities discussed in any way whatsoever? In fact, was it the subject of the meeting?
Response. Brother Haim chaired the meeting. Regarding the situation that the Vietnamese soldiers arrived in the Cambodian territory. He said that don't be surprised, just carry on to your work. Because the matters were managed by Rund and San.
De quelle question parlez-vous?
I'm lost here. What was under Rund and San?
When the Vietnamese entered, then Comrade Rund and Comrade San would be able to counter the Vietnamese forces.
And this Comrade Rund was the same person who was under Kyo Sampan's supervision for these state warehouses, or are we talking about somebody else? The name does seem to be similar.
Response. Comrade Rund and Comrade San, they were secretaries of two separate divisions.
Dois-je comprendre de ce que vous venez de dire que...
So do I take it that during this meeting on the 6th of January 1979, the question of the state warehouses did not come up in the conversation? Can you confirm, please?
Response, that is correct. There was no discussion about the state warehouse. There was a discussion only on the invasion by the Vietnamese troops.
Lorsque
But when one comes to consider the statement you made in this courtroom, and which I have reread, the impression one gets is that the simple presence of the person in charge of the warehouses and the presence of Kyo Sampan at the same meeting that leads you to assume that there is some kind of hierarchical link between these two people. Now, is this right? Is this true?
Response. There were a number of participants in that meeting. But I clearly knew Comrade Rund from the state's warehouse. So I concluded that it might be possible that Brother Haim also controlled the state warehouse.
Donc c'est uniquement une...
In other words, it's an assumption that you made at the time and that you continue to make right now. Is that correct?
I made a conclusion at that time, and today, yes, I make the same conclusion.
Et
And to try and substantiate that conclusion that you drew, the essence is that there were these two people, Kyo Sampan and the head of the state warehouses, present at the same meeting.
Response. They attended the meeting chaired by Na. And usually, whoever chairs the meeting, it means that person was the superior of the attendance. At that time, it was only Brother Haim who talked about the situation and nobody else.
vous-même,
But you were at the meeting, Duke, and Kyo Sampan was not your direct superior. Is that right?
Response. I believe you, counsel, you should look at a bit further up. Comrade Lin called me to ask me to go to work. And when I took my motor to the Saramarit school, I stopped there, and then the comrade came to pat my shoulder and invited me in. I was actually hesitated because Brother Ham was not my superior, but Comrade Ren just encouraged me to get inside. I think I make a mistake. Let me correct. It's Comrade Lin, not Comrade Ren. Comrade Lin who actually pushed me in. So I entered because I knew Comrade Lin would not do that if he was not authorized to do so.
merci pour...
Thank you, witness, for those points of information. But that particular anecdote that you have shared with us, you will agree, has absolutely no relation to the question of whether or not Mr. Kyo Sampan was responsible for the state warehouses. Do you agree?
Response. Your conclusion is based on your personal reason, and I made my personal conclusion. And I still have reasons to maintain my conclusion as it is. Because regardless of any regime we are under, No one would be authorized to spread information to anyone except their subordinates or his or her subordinates.
When
I entered, all the seats were already occupied except one. And Comrade Rung at the time asked me to sit in that chair.
D'accord.
All right, but I'm not asking you to repeat your story, but are there any other reasons that might have led you to deduce that there is some kind of hierarchical link between Mr. Kyosompong and the state warehouses, which would have led you to think that the other gentleman was his subordinate? Is there something that made you really believe that Mr. Kyosompong was in charge of the state warehouses, or is it just the series of events that you have divulged just now that makes you think, broadly speaking, that everybody attending the meeting was a subordinate of Kyosompong?
Response: that is correct. I still believed those people sitting around Brother Ham were his subordinates, including Comrade Rung. Let me confirm that at that time, Brother Ham did not speak to me, not even a word, not even a smile.
Is it possible that you might have adduced information to the effect that Mr. Kyosompong was in charge of the state warehouses from a confession obtained under torture in S21?
Response: I did not talk about the content of the confessions.
C'est vrai, mais je vous pose...
That's true, but I'm asking you the question anyway.
Response: Counsel, could you please repeat your question, because only half of my statement was heard on the channel that I'm listening to.
Quel canal est...
Which channel are you listening to, witness?
Barang.
I'm listening to the French channel, says the witness.
Ce qui est mal passé, pouvez-vous la répéter pour qu'elle soit...
All right, well, if your answer didn't come through correctly, would you like to repeat it, please?
President, Counsel, could you repeat your last question, because only half of your question was interpreted. And as for the witness, you are reminded that please, you should pause until the interpretation of the question concludes before you start to respond. And counsel, please also slow down as the witness is listening to you in the French, on the French channel, and he needs to finish listening the interpretation first before he could respond. So please leave a sufficient time between the two of you.
J'ai compris, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, I understood that, Mr. President. I'll be more careful. My question was a simple one. Backing up your statements of the 6th of January 1979 that you have just talked about, or your observations rather, might there be other information that you could have drawn from confessions obtained in S21?
Response. There are two separate issues here. One is my observation regarding the 6th of January 1979 event. That was the event that led to my conclusion that Brother Hamed controlled at least one unit of the state warehouses. As for the second matter, that is the confession of John, John confessed that his superior, who was appointed by the CPK, that is Brother Hamed, his superior taught him how to become a CIA agent and how to operate like a CIA agent. Therefore, as Brother Hamed controlled the power plant in Chiang Rai was known by John. That's why he implicated his superior, that is Brother Hamed, who was appointed by the Communist Party of Cambodia. So, I do not touch upon any content within the confession of that comrade. Let me continue. When I reported to Brother Noon did not say anything because the confession implicated Brother Hamed. It meant that he acknowledged that Brother Hamed controlled that plant and he was appointed by the CPK to do so. He only threatened me that Brother Noon threatened me that
Pour résumer, Monsieur.
In sum, then, witness, the information that led you to conclude that, in your view, Mr. Kyo Sompon had a unit under his command is A, the fact that you didn't want to go into the meeting, but because Mr. Kyo Sompon was going to be there, but you were practically forced to go in anyway. 2, that the meeting was chaired by Kyo Sompan, and 3 because in at least one confession obtained in S21, Kyo Sompan had been connected with somebody in charge of that electrical plant. Is that a fair summary of what you're telling us?
Response, in principle, yes, it is correct.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Just now you said that Lin called you to the meeting. During the investigation phase, you talked about Lin at the first stage, but also Doing as being the person who summoned you to the meeting. Can you remember that variation in the name of the person who summoned you?
ជំរាបប្រសាទលោកប្រធាន
Response, I may confused because the true individuals have the right to make a phone call to me.
Et ils vous ont téléphoné.
And they called you to come to the meeting. Is that right?
Pouvez-vous parler dans le micro pour votre réponse parce qu'on n'a pas entendu.
Please repeat in the microphone.
ត្រឹមត្រូវពីរអ្នកនឹងមានសិទ្ធិ
Response, that is correct. The two of them had the right to make a phone call to me to call me for work.
ដោយឡែក
As for Comrade Lin, he did not have the right to make a phone call for me to work.
មិនមែនគ្រាន់តែ
Not only have the right to make a phone call to me to work, he also had the right to ask me to arrange my forces to receive the people that he would send.
Thank you. And during the investigation, you described often the state of mind and even the panic in which you were as of the 2nd or 3rd of January, you said, during which your superior at S21 had given you the order to execute the last prisoners. Do you remember that description you gave of your mental state during that period, or would you like me to remind you of what you said?
ខ្ញុំនៅចាំ
I still remember. I remember all.
Alors pouvez-vous le répéter?
So then can you please repeat it here?
ជំរាបប្រសាទលោកប្រធាន
Mr. President, after I received order from Brother Nunes to destroy the remaining prisoners, I came to tell Comrade Ho to follow the order, for him to execute the order. Because it was his work. He was responsible for that work. And as for me, I said to myself, to destroy all, that means one weight who was recently arrested, so could it be me, who was to be arrested.
ពេលនឹងហើយដែលខ្ញុំតក់ស្លុតធ្វើអីមិនកើត
It was then that I became terrified. I couldn't even sleep, and I stayed at home. I had my blood pressure.
យ៉ាងម៉េចក៏ខ្ញុំមិនងើបតែពេលបាយទៅប្រព័ន្ធទៅហូបបាយត្រឡប់មកវិញដេកទៀត
I got up only when we had to have meal, and I took my wife to have meal, and after that I came back home and sleep.
កន្លែងគូរូបឆ្លាក់រូបដែលខ្ញុំធ្លាប់តែទៅរាល់ថ្ងៃក៏ខ្ញុំលេងទៅ
I did not even go to the place where I usually went. No one saw me going out of my house.
Sauf
Except to go to a meeting on 6th January where this crucial information is going to be given to you, meaning that everything is fine, Phnom Penh is well defended, and you can continue with your activities as if there was nothing. Is that the case?
ត្រឹមត្រូវ
It is correct.
je voudrais vous rappeler
I now would like to revisit a statement you made on 4th July 2002 before the military tribunal. And the index number is D288/6.52/4.43. On page 3, French ERN 00327365, English 00329135, Khmer 00095691. And we are going to give you a copy a Khmer version, and you can see the underlined passage on the last page. And can I please display this on the screen? And during this statement, during which you were questioned about your knowledge of Kyusampa, and this was 2002, and you say that up until today, as for Kyusampa, today we have never met, not even once. Have you read the passage? And my question is the following. How can you explain this apparent contradiction between your statement on 4th July 2002 before the military tribunal and what you're saying today under oath?
Mr. President, in this case, as two people are included. The military court included two people here. I was never under any official control by either Ieng Sary or Kyusampon. That was what it means here. When it comes to this kind of summary, we can understand it this way.
So your explanation is that when in 2002 you say that you never met que son pont, well, in reality what you wanted to say was that you were not his subordinate. Is that the case? Is that your explanation?
Pouvez-vous répéter votre réponse? Nous n'avons pas eu-
Can you please repeat your answer? We did not get the French interpretation.
ចម្លើយរបស់ខ្ញុំគឺត្រឹមត្រូវ
It is correct.
Je voudrais maintenant
Now I would like to consider the issue of the laissez-passer, which you spoke about. And you spoke about this on the 1st of April 2008 when you were questioned. And the investigating judges were asking you then, why didn't you escape like everyone else? And you answered then, and I quote, personally, I had a quarterly laissez-passer that was signed by a so-named Kong. And it was the alias of someone whom I don't know. But when I saw Que Son Pont's handwriting, it seemed to me that it was his. And then, here, before the chamber, on 28 March 2012, you stated that Pong had provided you with a laissez-passer, not a quarterly laissez-passer, as you said in 2008 in document E3-106, but a laissez-passer for 6 months, which was signed again by Kong. And you stated that back then you had asked Pong, who was this Kong in question? I hope that I'm pronouncing it right. And that Kong answered you, Pong Hen. And here, before the chamber again, you stated, I looked at this handwriting and I compared the documents and I concluded that it was probably the same person who wrote this. It was surely him because I once saw his handwriting. You were speaking about Que Son Pont, when he had sent a letter to his friend in the special zone. So my first question regarding this is the following. How long would this laissez-passer valid for? For 3 months? For 6 months?
The President, witness, please wait. Yes, International Co-Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honour. I think the question relates to the passages that the Defence Counsel were putting to the witness. We didn't get the document number that he was referring to, the co-investigative judge's statement, and I just would ask perhaps for the ERN number of that passage, and perhaps if the witness could be provided that passage so that he could provide a more enlightened answer.
C'est vrai, Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Procureur.
That's true. I apologize. And I went a bit too fast. So yes, I do have here a copy that I can give to the witness, a copy of his statement, or rather of his examination of 1 April 2008, and the index is E3/106, and the ERNs are the following: French 00177 646, English 001 76535, Khmer 001 77 625. So you have had the time to look at this document. And what was the validity of this laissez-passer? Was it 3 months, 6 months?
Mr. President, since the implementation of the pass until the time that I was asked by the investigating judges, it had been 30 years. So I am confused. I'm not sure whether the pass was valid for 3 months or 6 months. I was talking about the validity over a period of a semester because Bong had gone and I was issued a pass. So I was thinking of this period. That's why I said it was valid for a period of 6 months. The President, your mic was not activated when you spoke the last time, do it? Said the President. Witness. Mr. President, the validity of the pass, well, when it comes to the validity of the pass, I am confused. I'm not sure whether the validity was 6 months or 3 months. I'm not so sure. I think between the time that Brother Kyo went to live in Nat Leung and the times that Bong or Brother Haim signed the pass for me, it was over a long period of time. So on this basis, I said it was probably 6 months.
Are you sure that this was Kyo Sampong's signature?
Mr. President, at that time there was no signature. It was initial. It was written quickly, just like my name. We wrote our name in a quick manner.
Donc,
And as for my answer, whether I am sure or not, as for the writing, I am sure that it was the writing of Brother Haim. And the reason is,
écrit très vite.
So you're saying this on the basis of initials that were drafted very quickly?
and when we look at the writing, it recalls the letters that he wrote, Brother Ham wrote to his friend sometime in 1973 or 1974. The President, can witness repeat what you have just said, because before that your mic was not activated and so there was no translation. Without the mic being activated, you cannot be interpreted. Witness. Mr. President, the writing on the pass, as I trust what Pong said, that the writing belongs to Brother Haim, is because Pong said Kang's handwriting belongs to Brother Haim, and Brother Haim signed the pass. So when it was clearly told to me, I recalled his handwriting back in that I saw in 1973 or 1974.
Pour résumer ce que vous dites, monsieur,
So to summarize what you just said, on the basis of a piece of handwriting that you saw a few years before on a letter, which you compared to two initials that were scribbled quickly on a, let's say, passé, you are able to conclude that it was the same person. Is that what you're saying?
បងហែមមិនមែនគ្រាន់តែសរសេរឈ្មោះគាត់អាម៉ាត់ពីរនឹងទេសរសេរឈ្មោះក្នុងសរសេរក្នុងលិខិតអបអរពេញចំនួន
His full name was written on that pass.
quel nom complet?
Which full name?
សារដែលគាត់សរសេរពេញមួយលិខិតដើមផ្លូវនេះខ្លឹមសារដែលគាត់សរសេរលើលិខិតដើមផ្លូវគឺអក្សរគាត់ទាំងអស់
The entire contents, all the writings on that pass belongs to him.
Je sais qu'on vous a déjà posé.
I know that the question has already been put to you, and maybe the question might seem a bit excessive, but are you able to analyze handwriting, even if you claim to have done so, but what qualifies you to do this? You had no document to make any comparisons, and you're just comparing this with what you remember from several years ago. So do you have any kind of specific experience in terms of comparing handwritings, and especially under such difficult circumstances?
សាស្ត្រលោកប្រធាន
Mr. President, I would like to indicate that there was no reason for Pong to lie to me, that the writing in that pass did not belongs to or belongs to Brother Haim. So this is the important reason. How could a superior lie to his subordinate? It was only about a pass. It was about who signs the pass. How could Pong lie to me? I don't think so.
Monsieur du même.
Are we speaking about the same Pong? The same Pong who was arrested, tortured, and executed at S21?
The President, witness, please answer. It was too quick for you to answer, so there was no translation.
ខ្ញុំឆ្លាក់
Witness, yes, that Pang was the same person.
Et
And can you explain one last point to me? What was the power of a laissez-passer that was signed by someone who was completely unknown?
Those who knew about that, and those who did not know about that. Soldiers would recognize that the pass was signed by Brother Kieu. They would recognize the handwriting of Brother Kieu.
ឯចំណែកអ្នកផ្សេងទៀតឲ្យតែឃើញអក្សរហ្នឹងហើយនឹងឈ្មោះខាងគេដឹងល្អ
Others,
សមុទ្រដើរផ្លូវជាផ្លូវការនៃបកប្រជាកម្ពុជា
when seeing that kind of letter or pass, would recognize that the letters were written by a certain person. They knew that.
Et un laissez-passer.
And a laissez-passer that was drawn up by a certain person was enough to allow you a freedom of movement?
ចំនួននោះកងទ័ព
At that time,
ឲ្យតែខំពីខឹមគេចាប់ណា
if the pass was not signed by Khum and the soldiers walked, they would be arrested.
C'était qui comme
Who was Khum?
Mr. President, Khum is Kieu. It was used as a signature on a pass.
Mais ça n'était pas que sympa.
But it was not que Sampan, was it?
ខៀវហ្នឹងគឺសំសេន
Kieu was Sun Sen. Kieu Sampon would be used with Kang.
So this laissez-passer didn't allow you to go anywhere, if I understand you correctly. The laissez-passer that was signed by a so-called Pong.
គ្មានលិខិតដើរផ្លូវណាសញ្ញាប៉ង់ទេ
No pass was signed by Pong.
Excusez-moi, c'est de ma faute.
I'm sorry, I said Pong. That was my mistake. Instead of Kong, I meant Kong. So if I understand what you're saying correctly, a laissez-passer signed by Kong didn't allow you to go anywhere because it was necessary for the laissez-passer to be signed by Brother Q. Is that the case?
មែនទេ
No, it does not mean that.
កាលតែបុកខៀវកំណត់ពេញ
When Brother Kieu was in Phnom Penh, our pass was signed by Khum. Whenever I was asked for the pass, I would show the pass and I would be allowed to go.
ឯចំណែកដល់ក្រោយពីបុកខៀវកំណត់ជើងទៅនឹង
And after Brother Kieu went to Net Leung for a period of time,
ខ្ញុំកាន់កាប់លិខិតដើរផ្លូវខាង
I held a pass signed by Kang,
ដែលអ្នកណាឆែកខំនៅឡើយទេ
and no one asked me for the pass with a signature of Kang.
Oui, mais monsieur,
Yes, fine. But the revolutionary name of Kisampan, and everybody knows his name, was Bong Hem, wasn't it? It wasn't Kong, whom you are suddenly speaking about.
យើងពីរនាក់នឹងអង្គុយមកខាងទួលម្នាក់
We are on two different sides now.
យើងពីរនាក់នឹងអង្គុយមកខាងទួលម្នាក់
We are on two different sides.
យើងអត់បាន
We do not understand each other.
ឈ្មោះបងខៀវនេះណាច្រើនណាស់
Brother Kieu
សំសេន
has a lot of names. 89, Sun Sen.
ក៏សំសេន
62, Sun Sen. 21, Sun Sen.
ដល់គាត់សរសេរលិខិតដើរផ្លូវគាត់សរសេរខឹម
And he used the name Khum
ដើរផ្លូវទេ
When he signed on the pass, that was for the pass only.
ដោយឡែក
Besides, as for Brother Khieu Sampon,
ដែលអ្នកទូទៅស្គាល់បងហែម
most people
ស្គាល់ហែម
knew him by his name Haim. I knew him by Haim as well.
ឯយ៉ាងម៉េចដល់គាត់សញ្ញេលិខិតដើមផ្លូវ
But when he signed on a pass, he used the name Kang. It was Kang.
Et tout le monde le savait.
And everyone knew that.
ប៉ុន្តែបើគេឆែកខ្ញុំនៅតែរួចព្រោះវាជាលិខិតដើមផ្លូវដែលចេញមក
Even though I was asked for the pass, I believed I would be able to go because the pass was official.
Vous dites que
You are telling us that it was Son Sen who signed the laissez-passés normally. Is it because he was your superior?
ត្រឹមត្រូវគាត់ជាមេរបស់ខ្ញុំ
He was my superior.
et est-ce que c'est pour cette raison
And is this why he signed your laissez-passer?
ត្រឹមត្រូវ
It is correct.
Quelle était la valeur
What was the validity of a laissez-passer signed by Mr. Khieu Sampon, whereas Mr. Khieu Sampon was not your superior?
ជំរាបប្រសាសន៍លោកប្រធាន
Mr. President, Khieu Sampon,
ឈ្មោះនេះប្រើលិខិតដើមផ្លូវមិនដឹងជាប្រមាណខែមុនខ្ញុំប្រើហើយដូច្នេះ
if it was a name chosen in the past, long time ago, so people in Phnom Penh knew already that the name was used to sign on the pass. They all knew. So as to the value of the pass, it was up to the one who asked for it, who checked it.
Où est-ce laissé passer aujourd'hui
Where is the past today?
ត្រឹមត្រូវលោកសួរ
It is correct for you to ask me this question.
ខ្ញុំបានបញ្ជូនឲ្យការិយាល័យសហប្រតិ
I sent to the
ខ្ញុំរត់ទៅចោល
I told the office of the co-investigating, rather the co-prosecutors, to look for the pass at S21 because when I ran away, I dropped it there.
Pourquoi n'est-ce pas
And why wasn't it Nunchia who signed the pass? Since you seem to be implying that he would be the successor to Son Sen.
ធម្មតាពលពតនឹងជា
Response.
ឲ្យគាត់សញ្ញេលិខិត
Pol Pot and Nuon Chea were hide about the hierarchy, so it would be unlikely that he or both would sign the travel pass.
quant à que
Khieu Sampon was only president of the state presidium, in other words, nothing at all, is that right?
ខៀវសំផន
Response. Khieu was not as high as Pol Pot and Nuon Chea, but he was still high.
នឹងអាចសញ្ញេលិខិតដើមផ្លូវបាន
That he could sign the pass. He was a member of the Central Committee, a full-fledged member.
Avez-vous le moindre élément documentaire
Have you got any kind of documentary evidence, or are you aware of any, that might serve to confirm your statement about this pass?
ឆ្នាំនេះ
Response. The year today is 2012. From 1979, it has been 34 years. Many people are separated and died. How could it be possible to find someone who would know about this, or to raise more people for them to know about this? Please do not make any more arrests, either because you believe me or not.
Let's change the subject. In the Foreign Ministry, who was in charge of taking prisoners to S21?
Response. I will not answer this question.
Et pourquoi donc, monsieur le témoin?
Why, witness, do you not want to answer it?
ជំរាបពីលើកមុនហើយ
Response. As I said earlier, in general, it was Comrade Lin who sent them to me.
ឥឡូវទៅឆ្កឹកកកាយរយណាខាង
And now you want to dig up about anything else?
No, I'm not here to dig. I would just like to draw your attention to your statements. On the 3rd of June 2008, in E3/60, page 9 and 10, French ERN 00195 616 and 17, English 001956606, Khmer 001955598, and I read in the business of the foreign ministry there was a messenger who brought the prisoners to S21. It was a person called Jam, who was the same age as me. People were not detained within the ministry but taken directly to S21. Can you confirm the name of the individual that you quoted to the investigating judge in 2008?
Response. That record of interview at the office of the co-investigating judges President Koravisa, can you deliver the document from the council to this witness?
ហើយជាមួយការប្រចាំងឯកសារនៅលើក្រង
Also, can you project the document on screen?
Oui, Monsieur le Président, je crois que c'est en cours.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's just being done. So, your answer, please, witness. Do you confirm what you said to the investigating judges of the ECC on the 3rd of June 2008?
Response. I never reject any statements that I made before the office of the co-investigating judges at the ECCC.
ករណីនេះទៀតក៏ខ្ញុំមិន
In this case, I also do not reject this document. The thing is, I just do not wish to respond to the Council's question.
Bah, sans y répondre.
Well, without answering, you therefore confirm what you said in 2008. Is that right?
ខ្ញុំមិនឆ្លើយនឹងសំណួរលោក
Response. I will not respond to your question regarding the someone or about something that you want to lead into.
បើឥឡូវដល់ពេលសំលមនឹងសម្រាប់ហើយជំរាបប្រកាសសម្រាប់20
President, the chamber will take a 20-minute break and we shall resume at 3 p.m. Security guard, can you take the witness to the waiting room and bring him back here at 3 p.m. All right, says the greffier.